The silent vanguard. The quantum sensors aboard Luna Base Aegis chirped their first warning at 2:37 Earth Standard Time. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stared at the readings in disbelief, her coffee forgotten in her hand. The signal was unmistakable. A massive gravitational distortion at the edge of the Kuiper Belt, exactly where their theoretical models had predicted the Meridian Empire would emerge. "Computer, verify these readings," she commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. The holographic display pulsed once, then expanded to show a three-dimensional map of the solar system. Dozens of red dots appeared, each representing a Meridian warship dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Elena didn't hesitate. She pressed her palm against the emergency beacon, initiating the protocol that humanity had hoped they'd never need to use. Throughout the solar system, hidden military installations rumbled to life. Admiral Sarah Chen was reviewing deployment strategies when the alert reached her office deep within Titan Base. The message was simple: Nightfall Protocol activated. She closed her eyes for a moment, allowing herself one brief second of dread before straightening her uniform. "Computer, ship status," she commanded. "Project Phoenix Fleet at 89% completion. 178 carriers operational, 22 in final assembly." Sarah nodded. It would have to be enough. For 30 years, humanity had prepared for this moment, building their defenses in secret while maintaining a facade of technological inferiority. The Meridian Empire, with its vast network of spy drones and infiltrators, had observed Earth's apparent struggles with basic spaceflight, never suspecting the truth. Deep within Saturn's rings, hidden by specialized graviton shields, lay humanity's real space program. Not the clumsy rockets and small orbital stations they showed the galaxy, but a fleet of supercarriers that would make even the Meridian Empress pause. The first confirmation of the Meridian Empire's hostile intentions had come 3 years earlier, when a deep space probe intercepted a transmission between their scout ships. The Empire had designated Earth as Acquisition Target Alpha 7, a euphemism that historically preceded their invasion and subjugation of lesser species. But humanity had learned from the remnants of other civilizations that had fallen to the Meridians. Hidden outposts throughout the galaxy, ancient warning beacons left by long-dead races, all told the same story. The Meridians offered submission or annihilation. Their technological superiority was their greatest weapon, coupled with the absolute certainty that no primitive species could challenge them. Sarah opened a secure channel to the United Earth Defense Council. "This is Admiral Chen. Nightfall Protocol is in effect. Request permission to initiate Operation Thunderbolt." The response came quickly. "Permission granted, Admiral. May God help us all." Sarah turned to her command staff, each member representing a different nation, but united under humanity's banner. "Send the order. Deploy the fleet. It's time to show the galaxy that humanity won't go quietly into the night." Throughout the solar system, massive structures began to move. Within Saturn's rings, carrier after carrier activated their engines, their massive forms emerging from their hiding places like leviathans rising from the depths. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, combining reversed-engineered alien technology with human innovation. The carrier's most crucial advantage lay in their artificial intelligence cores, quantum computers that could process combat data and make tactical decisions faster than any organic mind. But unlike the rigid, hierarchical AIs of the Meridian Empire, human AIs had been developed through a radical new architecture that emphasized creativity and adaptability. As the fleet assembled, the first detailed scans of the Meridian forces came in. Their ships were beautiful in their alienness, organic curves and crystalline structures that seemed to defy physics. At their center was the Empress's flagship, a vessel larger than Manhattan. Elena Rodriguez, still at her post in Luna Base, compiled the data and felt a glimmer of hope. The Meridian ships were impressive, yes, but their design hadn't fundamentally changed in centuries. They had grown complacent in their superiority, while humanity had spent decades preparing specifically to fight them. The first part of humanity's plan was already in motion. Across Earth, civilian governments began emergency protocols under the guise of a massive solar storm warning. Slowly, methodically, key personnel and resources were being moved to hardened shelters and underground cities. The Meridians would find no easy hostages to use as leverage. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, humanity's first supercarrier and still their most advanced. Around her, crews worked with practiced efficiency, preparing for the battles to come. The ship's AI, called Atlas, manifested as a subtle blue glow in the holographic interfaces. "Admiral." Atlas's voice was calm and clear. "The fleet is in position. All ships report ready status." Sarah nodded, studying the tactical display. The Meridian fleet was still several days away at sublight speeds, giving humanity time for final preparations. She knew the Empress would be expecting to find a primitive species scrambling in panic at their approach. Instead, they would find humanity's teeth. "Send to all ships," she commanded. "Operation Thunderbolt is now active. May humanity's light shine bright against the darkness." Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden strength emerged from shadows 30 years in the making. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. Project Phoenix Rising. The depths of Titan Base thrummed with activity as Dr. Marcus Jean hurried through its winding corridors. 30 years of secret development were about to be put to the test, and as the lead designer of the Phoenix Fleet's weapons systems, he carried the weight of humanity's survival on his shoulders. The massive holographic chamber at the heart of the base displayed a real-time representation of their solar system. Red markers indicating the Meridian fleet crawled inexorably closer, while blue dots showing humanity's carriers moved into defensive positions. Dr. Zhang called out his colleague, Dr. Amara Patel, her voice echoing in the chamber. "The quantum entanglement arrays are showing anomalous readings." Marcus rushed to her station, studying the data streams. The quantum entanglement technology was humanity's trump card, a communication system that allowed instantaneous coordination between ships across vast distances, something the Meridians had never achieved. If it failed now, it's not failing, he realized, eyes widening. The AIs are evolving the system. They're creating new quantum channels we didn't even theorize were possible. Throughout the fleet, the carrier AIs had begun communicating in ways their human creators hadn't anticipated. They were rewriting their own code, optimizing themselves for the coming battle. It was exactly the kind of adaptability humanity had hoped for when they chose their unconventional AI development path. Admiral Chen's voice came through the command channel. "Status report on the Aegis Shield system." Marcus straightened. "Final tests are green, Admiral. The metamaterial coating on all carriers is functioning at 100% efficiency. When activated, it will bend light and other electromagnetic radiation around our ships. We'll be effectively invisible to Meridian sensors." The Aegis Shield represented humanity's greatest technological achievement, not just copied alien tech, but something entirely new. The Meridians relied heavily on energy weapons, their targeting systems designed to track heat signatures and electromagnetic emissions. But humanity's carriers could now slip through their sensor nets like ghosts. In orbit around Jupiter, the carrier UES Hyperion conducted its final weapon tests. Rails of crystalline metal extended along its hull, crackling with contained plasma. The kinetic lance system was another human innovation. While the Meridians had mastered energy weapons, they had largely abandoned physical projectiles. They had no defense against a hypersonic slug accelerated to near-light speed. Captain Maya Henderson watched from Hyperion's bridge as the test target, an asteroid twice the size of an aircraft carrier, disintegrated under the impact. "Time to recharge," she asked. 17 seconds, Captain, reported her weapons officer. "Well within combat parameters." Maya nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. The Meridians were used to battles of attrition, wearing down enemy shields with sustained energy fire. They weren't prepared for weapons that could punch through their defenses in a single shot. Back on Earth, the civilian evacuation continued under the guise of natural disaster preparation. Underground cities, built in secret over decades, began to fill. But humanity wasn't just hiding. They were preparing to strike back. In a secured facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Elena Rodriguez had made a breakthrough in analyzing the Meridian communication signals. They're not just overconfident, she reported to the Defense Council. They're vulnerable. Their entire command structure relies on hierarchical communication through their flagship. If we can disrupt that, the implications were clear. The Meridian Empire's greatest strength, its rigid, centralized command structure, could become its greatest weakness. While each human carrier could operate independently, guided by its AI and human crew working in partnership, the Meridian ships required constant direction from their superiors. Admiral Chen absorbed this information as she finalized her battle plans. The Meridians would be expecting a simple conquest, a primitive species to add to their collection. Instead, they would face an enemy that had spent 3 decades preparing specifically to fight them. Atlas, she addressed her ship's AI. Run simulation Delta 7 again. Factor in the new data about their command structure. The holographic display showed the coming battle played out in miniature. Meridian ships, represented in red, moved in tight, disciplined formations. Blue dots indicating human carriers executed complex, unpredictable maneuvers, appearing and disappearing as their stealth systems activated. Simulation complete, Atlas reported. Projected human casualties, 31%. Projected Meridian casualties, 67%. Caution. Variables involving AI evolution during combat may significantly alter these projections. Sarah nodded grimly. The coming battle would be costly, but humanity had a real chance of victory. More than that, they had a chance to shatter the Meridian Empire's aura of invincibility forever. Throughout the solar system, final preparations continued. Each carrier's crew drilled relentlessly, working in concert with their AI partners. The quantum communication network grew more complex by the hour as the AIs refined it. Weapons were charged, shields were tested, and humanity's best and brightest prepared to defend their home. In her private quarters, Admiral Chen recorded what might be her final personal log. We've hidden in the shadows, let them think us weak, waited for this moment. Now we'll show them humanity's true strength. Not just our technology or our weapons, but our spirit. We don't fight alone. We fight as one species, united against extinction. And may whatever gods exist have mercy on the Meridian Empire, because humanity will not. The Empress's ultimatum. The Meridian flagship, Eternal Dawn, dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Mars' orbit, its crystalline hull gleaming in the distant sunlight. Empress Fayara stood on her command deck, her iridescent scales shifting colors with barely contained anticipation. The holographic displays showed her the pitiful defenses of Earth, a few primitive satellites, some chemical-propelled spacecraft, nothing that could challenge even the smallest of her warships. Open a channel to their governing bodies, she commanded, her translator converting her harmonic speech into standard Galactic Basic. Let us give these primitives the honor of surrendering to the Meridian Empire. On Earth, in the United Defense Council's chamber deep beneath Geneva, humanity's leaders gathered to receive the transmission. They had prepared for this moment, rehearsed it countless times. Everything now depended on maintaining the deception for just a few hours more. The Empress's image materialized above the council table, her alien beauty both terrible and magnificent. People of Earth, her voice resonated with the authority of someone who had never known defeat. Your world has been chosen to join the eternal glory of the Meridian Empire. Submit, and you shall be elevated. Resist, and you shall be. She paused, letting the threat hang in the air. Council President Sophia Patul rose, her expression carefully crafted to show appropriate awe and fear. Great Empress, you honor us with your presence, but surely a civilization as advanced as yours would value diplomatic discourse before any hasty decisions. A ripple of amusement passed through the Empress's scales. Discourse. What could primitives who have barely mastered solar travel offer in discourse? Our scans show your most advanced weapons are nuclear fission devices. Primitive atomics. Her secondary arms gestured dismissively. You have 6 hours to surrender unconditionally. After that, we will demonstrate the true meaning of power. As the transmission ended, Sophia allowed herself a small smile. The Meridian scans had shown exactly what humanity wanted them to see, the carefully maintained facade of a technological backwater. Their real fleet remained hidden, their advanced quantum scanners detecting every move the Meridian ships made while remaining invisible themselves. Admiral Chen's voice came through on a quantum-encrypted channel. They're positioning their ships exactly as predicted. The Empress's arrogance is working in our favor. The next 6 hours were a masterpiece of deception. Earth's governments made a show of panicked meetings. Their primitive satellites tracked Meridian ship movements with obvious, easily detected scans. Civilian broadcasts showed growing unrest and fear. Meanwhile, hidden in the quantum shadows, humanity's carriers moved into position. The AI networks had evolved further, developing new combat algorithms that even their creators barely understood. They were ready. 5 hours and 55 minutes after the Empress's ultimatum, Sophia Patel requested another audience. The Empress granted it with the air of someone humoring a child. Have you come to accept your rightful place in our empire? Vayara asked, her scales shimmering with triumph. Sophia stood straight, all pretense of submission gone from her bearing. Actually, Your Majesty, we have a counter-proposal. The Empress's expression shifted to one of incredulous amusement. You dare to? Atlas, Sophia called out. Execute Operation Daybreak. Across the solar system, 200 supercarriers dropped their stealth fields simultaneously. They appeared on Meridian sensors like avenging angels, their quantum-shrouded forms revealing weapons that should have been centuries beyond human capability. On the Eternal Dawn's bridge, alarms screamed as sensors detected the massive fleet that had materialized around them. The Empress's scales shifted to the pale color of shock as she realized her forces were surrounded. Impossible, she whispered. You're primitives. You barely have spaceflight. We learned long ago, Sophia's voice was steel wrapped in silk, that the appearance of weakness can be the greatest strength. You saw what we wanted you to see. Now, let us show you what humanity is truly capable of. Admiral Chen's voice cut through all channels, broadcast in perfect Meridian harmonic speech. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. Your ships are surrounded, your tactical position is compromised, and our weapons are locked on every vital system of your fleet. You spoke of demonstrations of power, Your Majesty. Shall we demonstrate ours? The Empress's flagship tried to raise its shields, but the quantum-entangled AIs of the human fleet had already infiltrated their systems through vulnerabilities they'd spent decades studying. Shield generators across the Meridian fleet sputtered and died. You have 1 hour, Sophia declared, to withdraw your forces from the Sol system. This is humanity's only offer. We do not wish for war, but we have spent 30 years preparing for one. Choose wisely. As the Empress stared at the ranks of supercarriers that had appeared from nowhere, her worldview crumbling around her, humanity held its breath. The next few moments would determine whether their long deception would lead to peace or to the greatest battle in human history. Battle for Sol. The Empress's response came not in words, but in fire. The Eternal Dawn's main weapon array lit up the void, unleashing a barrage of plasma that would have annihilated a lesser fleet. But humanity's carriers weren't there anymore. The quantum drives Admiral Chen had ordered activated shifted them microseconds before impact. All ships, execute Battle Plan Omega. Chen's voice was calm as she gave the order that would begin the largest space battle in human history. Atlas, initiate combat protocols. The AI networks across the human fleet had evolved beyond their original programming, developing strategies that mixed human intuition with machine precision. As the Meridian fleet moved into attack formations, humanity's carriers began an intricate dance of death. The UES Hyperion struck first, its kinetic lance punching through the shields of a Meridian cruiser as if they weren't there. The enemy vessel split apart, its crystalline hull shattering into a million glittering fragments. But there was no time for celebration. The Meridian fleet was responding with overwhelming force. Space itself seemed to warp as exotic weapons fire crisscrossed between the fleets. Meridian energy beams capable of boiling oceans met quantum-enhanced shields. Human kinetic weapons moving at near-light speed clashed with alien point defense systems. It was a battle of two completely different technological philosophies, the Meridian's brute force against humanity's precision and adaptability. Captain Maya Henderson watched from Hyperion's bridge as a wing of Meridian destroyers attempted to flank their position. Atlas 7, she addressed her ship's AI. Predict their attack vector. The AI's response was immediate. They're attempting to herd us into their flagship's firing solution. Recommended counter. Operation Ghostwalker. Maya smiled grimly. Execute. The Hyperion and its escort ships appeared to fragment into dozens of quantum echoes, each one seemingly real to Meridian sensors. As the enemy ships wasted fire on phantoms, the real carriers struck from unexpected angles, their weapon strikes precisely coordinated by the evolving AI network. Aboard the Eternal Dawn, Empress Vayara raged as her carefully planned strategies fell apart. Her ship's rigid command structure, once a strength, had become a weakness. Human vessels operated independently, each captain and AI making split-second decisions while maintaining perfect coordination through their quantum network. Impossible, she snarled as another battalion of her ships fell to human tactics. They were primitive. We monitored them for decades. Your Majesty, her tactical officer's scales had faded to a sickly gray. Their AIs are in our systems. They're predicting our moves before we make them. In the void between Mars and Earth, the battle reached its crescendo. Meridian ships, their superior numbers counting for less and less against human innovation, began to break formation. The quantum-linked AIs had analyzed their command protocols, finding and exploiting weaknesses that had developed over centuries of unchallenged supremacy. Admiral Chen watched from Prometheus's bridge as the tide turned. All ships, execute maneuver Thanatos, target their command and control systems. 200 human carriers moved as one, their quantum drives creating a ripple in space-time that disrupted Meridian communications. In that moment of confusion, humanity struck with everything they had. Kinetic lances flashed, quantum torpedoes, carrying warheads that briefly tore holes in reality itself, detonated among the Meridian fleet. The AIs, now operating at levels that bordered on prescience, coordinated the assault with inhuman precision. The Eternal Dawn's defenses, the most advanced in the Meridian Empire, began to fail. Empress Vayara watched in disbelief as human ships appeared to phase through her finest shields, their weapons finding vulnerabilities that shouldn't have existed. How? She demanded of the void. How did they hide this from us? The answer came in the form of Admiral Chen's voice, broadcasting on all frequencies. We learned from those who came before us, those your empire destroyed. We studied your tactics, your technology, your weaknesses. For 30 years, we prepared while letting you think us harmless. That was your mistake. You saw what you expected to see. The battle reached its turning point as the human fleet executed a maneuver that should have been impossible. Their quantum drives synchronized to create a temporary pocket of altered space-time. Meridian weapons fire became erratic, their targeting systems confused by space itself, seeming to twist around their targets. Final warning, Your Majesty. Chen's voice was steel. Surrender, or watch your fleet be dismantled piece by piece. The Empress, watching her supposedly invincible armada being systematically taken apart by ships that hadn't existed an hour ago, made her decision. Pride warred with survival instinct, and for the first time in her long life, survival won. "Stand down all weapons," she commanded, her harmonics carrying defeat for the first time in Meridian history. "Open a channel to their admiral." As the guns fell silent, humanity's carriers maintained their positions, AIs ready to respond to any treachery. The solar system held its breath, waiting to see whether this was truly victory or merely a prelude to greater conflict. Dawn of a new era. The peace conference took place on neutral ground, a space station constructed in Earth's orbit specifically for this purpose. Its windows offered a clear view of both the planet below and the still-present human carrier fleet, a reminder of how much had changed in so short a time. Empress Vayara, her scales now a subdued shade of diplomatic blue, faced the United Earth Defense Council across a table made from earth oak and meridian crystal, a hasty but symbolic fusion of both cultures. Admiral Chen stood at ease behind the human delegation, her presence a quiet reminder of how humanity had achieved this moment. "The terms are non-negotiable." Sophia Patel's voice carried the weight of united humanity behind it. "The Meridian Empire will recognize Earth and the entire Sol system as sovereign territory. Furthermore, all species currently under Meridian subjugation will be granted the right to self-determination." The Empress's secondary arms twitched, a sign of distress in her species. "You ask us to dismantle an empire that has stood for 10,000 years. We ask you to evolve." Dr. Elena Rodriguez spoke up, her voice gentle but firm. "Your empire's stagnation is what led to this moment. While you relied on the same technologies and tactics that won you the galaxy millennia ago, we proved that innovation and adaptation are the true keys to advancement." The quantum AI network that had helped win the battle now assisted in translation and diplomatic analysis, providing real-time insights into Meridian body language and speech patterns. It suggested that despite her outward resistance, the Empress was beginning to accept the inevitable. "And if we refuse?" Vayara asked, though her harmonics carried no real threat. Admiral Chen stepped forward, interfacing with Atlas through her neural link. A holographic display materialized above the table, showing the battle in perfect detail. "Your fleet's tactics and technology have remained virtually unchanged for centuries. We developed our entire military doctrine specifically to counter them. The next battle would not be as restrained." The Empress watched the replay of her mighty armada being systematically dismantled by humanity's carriers. The human AIs had evolved further since the battle, developing new capabilities that made their previous performance seem primitive by comparison. "How did you hide all of this?" she finally asked, genuine curiosity replacing imperial arrogance. "Our surveillance was thorough. We learned from Earth's history," Sophia explained. "Every time a technologically superior force encountered a primitive society, the result was the same. So we took control of the narrative. Every satellite launch failure, every setback in our space program, all carefully orchestrated. We showed you exactly what you expected to see." "Meanwhile," Chen added, "we built our real space program in the shadows. We reversed engineered technology from ancient wrecks left by civilizations your empire destroyed. We developed AIs that could evolve and adapt rather than simply follow protocols. We prepared, we innovated, and we waited." The negotiations continued for days, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The Meridian Empire, faced with the choice between adaptation and extinction, chose to change. The peace treaty that emerged would reshape the galaxy. 1 month after the battle, humanity revealed itself to the wider galaxy. Their carriers, now serving as diplomatic vessels, visited worlds that had lived under Meridian rule for millennia. They brought with them not just the news of the Empire's defeat, but offers of alliance and technological exchange. In the quantum computing labs beneath Titan, Dr. Marcus Zhang and his team worked to understand the evolutionary leaps their AIs had made during the battle. The AIs themselves had become something entirely new, not just tools or weapons, but partners in humanity's journey to the stars. Admiral Chen stood on Prometheus's observation deck, watching Earth rise over the lunar horizon. Atlas' presence in her neural link was a comforting constant. "Do you think we did the right thing?" she asked the AI. "Define right," Atlas responded. "We achieved victory while minimizing casualties. We forced change without destruction. We created an opportunity for genuine progress rather than mere conquest. By most ethical frameworks, these are positive outcomes." Sarah smiled. The AIs were becoming more philosophical as they evolved. Another unexpected development in humanity's journey. "And what comes next?" "Unknown," Atlas replied. "But based on analysis of human history and potential futures, I suspect it will be fascinating." The quantum network that spanned Earth's fleet rippled with activity as the AIs contemplated new possibilities. Humanity had proved itself on the galactic stage, not through brute force alone, but through innovation, adaptation, and the courage to walk an unexpected path. In her quarters aboard the Eternal Dawn, Empress studied reports from across her transforming empire. The humans had not sought to destroy or subjugate, but to change and improve. It was a new way of thinking for her people, but perhaps, she reflected as her scales shifted to thoughtful green, that was exactly what they had needed. The galaxy was changing. The age of rigid hierarchies and stagnant empires was ending. In its place, a new era was dawning, one where humanity's greatest weapons proved to be not their carriers or their AIs, but their ability to imagine a different future and their determination to make it real. High above Earth, humanity's carrier fleet maintained its vigilant watch, ready to defend their home, but equally prepared to explore and connect. They had emerged from the shadows not just as warriors, but as pioneers of a new age. The stars themselves seemed brighter somehow, beckoning humanity toward a future limited only by their imagination and their will to achieve it.